You're watching Reality Check, This Week in Rewind. Welcome to Reality Check, This Week in Rewind. I'm your host, Quinny B, and you already know what it is. We're back for more reality TV recaps. I'm still having the same sentiments from my last video, which is the social media portion is way more interesting than what's going on these reality TV shows. Unlike when reality TV first started over 10 years ago, social media was not that big of a deal. So these stars didn't really have an opportunity to defend themselves immediately. What we see happening now is as soon as something airs and the editing is wrong or the plot is wrong, or maybe they just agreed to go along with it to further their storyline, but they don't like the backlash that they're receiving, they head straight to Twitter, straight to Instagram, they post the receipts, and I love it. Today, I'm going to open up with Growing Up Hip Hop Atlanta, and that's really only because we're finally at kind of the climax of things for Brandon. So I want us to go ahead and wrap that up, and we can kind of talk about Bow Wow and this Corey girl and how quickly things are going downhill because everyone is able to see the crazy except for him. If you haven't watched it yet, these last two episodes, if I'm being honest, are the must-watch episodes of the season thus far. So do yourself a favor, pause right here, and go ahead and start watching. For those of us that are all caught up, let's discuss. We open with the family still having this dinner, this intervention for Brandon because they're so concerned about whether or not he's a firefighter. If you lie about this, what else have you lied about? And then what else will you lie about? Things are kind of escalating. Waka has his phone because Brandon's pulled up this email showing that he received a confirmation email. The email does not have any of the firehouse's contact information. It's not dated. It's very copy and paste, like he created a Gmail alias, typed up this email in OneNote, and then once he thought it was perfect, pasted it in there and sent it. So he hands Waka his phone. Waka goes, "There's no contact information. Dog, this isn't real." And instead of him getting his phone back right then, he lets Waka hold on to it. Waka goes through his phone and sees that he's been ordering the firefighter clothes on Amazon.com. So he shows everybody and everybody kind of burst out laughing. Now, my first thought was maybe he called himself being proud to be in the academy. So he wanted to show, I fight fires, like that little cute stuff that people like to wear. But then Brandon digs a hole deeper for himself saying, well, we have to buy our own uniforms. We have to get these clothes. That's not official firefighter gear. The jig is up, okay? Waka kind of walks out. He explodes because you're playing with him. You're playing with his mom, his family. You're putting everything in jeopardy. So he kind of explodes. And in order to keep from harming himself or possibly even Brandon, he walks out. Tammy tells Waka to leave and she pulls Brandon off to the side. Now, what I'm reading is people are saying that Tammy's a traitor because she was one of the main people egging Deb on to get to the bottom of things. But then when it came time to actually be hard on Brandon, she backed up. Now, what Tammy has said is that she has a heart, so she softened a little bit. She saw that there was something wrong with him. Even if he's a liar, I guess he still deserves to be treated humanely. So she tries to have a little conversation off to the side with him to get him to confess, and he's sticking to it, right? And now the plot thickens because he wants to bring up depression. And she goes, well, so you're depressed? And he's like, well, I've always been depressed. They know about that. So it's like, well, is that a factor in your behavior and the lies that you're telling? Or is it not? I think we can all just agree that Brandon is a master manipulator and it's time for Deb and her family to move forward. But it's clear that Deb still loves him. He's something that she's not going to be able to just kick. He is a habit for her, and she's really going to struggle to move on from that. Ayana's there, and she breaks down crying, citing that his spirit is just not right with her and just keep him away from her. People are calling her a fraud, saying that the only reason that she feels this way is because they're on bad terms. But prior to this, they were cool. He was like her brother, her cousin, whatever you want to call it. They were good. I don't know. I mean, aren't people allowed to have a change of heart? We cut to Bows where more drama ensues because once again, he's jumping into yet another relationship with these type of toxic girls that he tends to attract because, well, he's toxic himself. He and the boys are having drinks, having a good time, taking shots, catching up. And Corey comes over. No problem, right? Hey, girl. But it's not just Corey. It's Corey plus 2 plus her luggage, okay? Baby girl had like 3 bags. She's moving in. She comes in. Hey, y'all. How y'all doing? She looks in the sink, looks in the fridge. The guys are like, well, what are you doing looking in the sink, looking in the fridge? She's like, I live here. What you mean? So she's all in the fridge. Y'all want me to make y'all some tacos? Baby this, baby that. You want me to make you another shot? Baby, baby, baby. And remember, I told you on the first episode or this last episode when they were at the park, it was a whole bunch of baby, baby, baby. So this isn't off trend for her, but it just seems super fast. In my opinion. Baby, 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 let's take shots. And then so she looks in the sink and she goes, it's too many shot glasses in the sink. Who you done had over here? And his friends make a joke like, some hoes. She goes, oh, for real? Because I'm crazy. Let's toast to crazy. Bao is kind of looking like, I don't know, behind her. But at the same time, what have you done to make her feel this comfortable in your home? BT is immediately concerned, as he should be, and tries to have a heart-to-heart with him. Even the guys, when the girls and the guys separate because she's making these tacos that don't really look like they're going to amount to anything. When the guys and the girls separate, the guys are trying to tell him, you're in a relationship. She's talking about she's crazy. She's your baby. All these other things. He's just like, no, it's not like that. And then she invites herself and shows even more that she is like ready for exclusivity. Really, it looks as though they've already had sex, so he's possibly awakened the crazy in her. BT later on even tries to have a real conversation with him, but you can look in Bao's eyes and tell that he is just faded, okay? Shad, or the coherent version of Bow Wow that we sometimes see, has left the building, and this monster is here. And I say monster because he puts his hands on BT in a joking way, but it's also one of those things where when you're faded like that, is that what you did to Kiyomi? Is that who you are? Are you easily that ticked off? Because even in BT's confessional, he goes, you know, 1 second we're playing, the next second we're not. Once again, the attempt to be on this show as damage control was a terrible idea. And if his mom is still managing him, this was a very terrible idea for both of them. Deb calls Brat to apologize. Now, mind you, Brat has been ignoring her calls for a couple of days. She sees her calls coming through. She's sending her to voicemail. They finally hash this thing out about inviting Drea Kelly to be a part of the artist boot camp. Deb apologizes, citing that she should have consulted Brat and it won't happen again. Every decision from here on out will be made as partners. Speaking of the artist boot camp, over at Remarkables, she's making breakfast with her mom and I guess for her boyfriend, or he's already left, so maybe for her son. And her mother is inquiring about her career status. How are you doing in the studio? Are we making any traction with gaining any visibility, things like that? And she mentions the artist boot camp. Her mom says that she doesn't want Remarkable to be exploited, and so she really doesn't think it's a good idea. And my only questions are, how is she being exploited? If anything, you're probably being exploited just by being a part of this show. Yes, you're gaining visibility, but also you have to keep certain plots and storylines going, which could ultimately hinder your brand. Like having a conversation about being exploited when no one knows who you are. She does say how big of a fan she is of the Brat and how excited she was to meet her, which is kind of unfortunate because you kind of see during the last episode, Brat throwing shots saying that her voice was terrible, that kind of like implying that they didn't want to work with her. But that's because she came through Brandon. And that's something that Brat really has to get over, because although Brandon is shady, he really did bring you some talent. And so you don't want to ruin that before it even gets started. Smaller scenes include Tammy going shopping with her mom because, as we know, she was a star on Candy's Welcome to the Dungeon tour. So she's shopping with her mom, and of course they talk Brandon. Tammy's mom is TV gold. She says, well, I don't need no Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde around me. Great scene. Another scene is where Bao and his mom Teresa meet up, and they meet up to talk about, I guess, Teresa outside of being a momager. And she says that she wants him to meet Drea Kelly. For whatever reason, Bao is super against meeting Drea Kelly. And my thought is, well, The one thing that the three people that we're discussing, Bao, his mom, and Drea Kelly, have in common is domestic violence. And his mother even kind of touches on that, stating that she and Drea have that in common. She wants Bao to see her as more than just his mom or a manager, and Drea Kelly is going to teach her how to twerk. Bao makes really rude jokes it's very negative, saying, well, how much did she pay those guys or those ladies to be a part of this documentary to speak ill on R. Kelly? He's going so hard trying to defend R. Kelly, and I really couldn't even think about any of R. Kelly's tracks that he was even on until he was saying he was on the I'm a Flirt track. Maybe it was the remix. And Teresa makes the comment that they still owe him for that. And I started singing the song in my head, and I don't have any recollection about being on that track. Moving on. It's unfortunate for him to behave that way, because if you were really working on revamping your image, you should possibly try to get your mom, Drea Kelly, together, and yourself, some other ladies that are victims of domestic abuse, to talk about how it's never okay. Being that his mom is talking about she's a victim of domestic violence, it kind of makes sense as to why he might have these violent tendencies, but not really be willing or ready to acknowledge them, and why his mom isn't even able to acknowledge them. Deb's family, as well as the brat, are concerned about Deb's giving heart. Entering into this boot camp means that you're going to encounter a lot of people with a lot of different auras, a lot of different stories, journeys, and you can't take everyone in. At this point, we've established that Deb is this fairy godmother, so she loves everybody. She wants to essentially take in all of the hurt people, and her kids and brat are like, you don't really need to be talking to people because we know how emotional you get, and we don't have time for that. You can't take on every charity case. We cut to Bow Wow's do-rag party. So what makes this funny is probably sometime last year, my best friend and I were in the beauty supply store because I was getting hair products, and we actually saw these do-rags. And he backed up because he was like, is that Bow Wow? We thought that maybe he was just a face on them, but this is actually like his brand of do-rags. He's partnered with somebody, and he says that he's a part of the look, the feel. He gets to select the colors. No product leaves without him testing it first. So here we are at the do-rag launch party. Everyone's in attendance. Remarkable, Brad, BT and the crew. Everybody's here to show love. Brad is kind of not feeling Remarkable. She kind of asks Bao, what's the deal with her? Be careful. You have opportunist people around you. Ayana's there, and she's asking about this Corey chick because he's posting her all over his social media, which we know is his MO when he gets with someone. But he is still denying that they're dating, talking about they're just chilling, having a good time. Of course, Ayana wants to talk Brandon, and Bao kind of listens but kind of shuts it down and is like, those are your people. Drea Kelly arrives based off of the invite that Teresa gave her, and Bao kind of is a little skittish around her. He's playful, but still a little rude, which is ironic because Drea's talking about in her confessional, she feels connected to him. Now, here's a little tea that I think that we all forgot about. Drea Kelly, her last name is actually McGee or something like that because she remarried after she was with R. Kelly. So the fact that she's continuing this Kelly name is definitely something that she's using to further her brand and people's ability to recognize her. Previews for the next episode, which is already aired, but we won't discuss until next week, show Remarkable saying that she doesn't want to be exploited, and she's brought all these management people into these meetings with Brad and Deb Antony. Remarkable has taken to her Instagram to say that that was all for a storyline. No, she was not going to be a part of a quote-unquote artist boot camp because that's supposed to be a spinoff show on its own that she was not going to get paid for. Apparently, it was supposed to be like a side chick reality TV screening as well as an artist boot camp. Not really sure how that was going to go, but here's the post for you to see for yourself. Now let's go ahead and get the real Black China out of the way. We opened still at dinner with her mom, where all parties have gotten up to just kind of breathe, right? She's told Tokyo bye, so Tokyo's left. She went to the car or somewhere and went off for maybe 5 minutes. China's talking to production about what was actually said there, how her mom is a liar, how her mom doesn't know anything about her because China actually did go to school, all these things, right? But eventually they're able to come back to the table, hash it out, agree to really work on their relationship, and all ends well. The bulk of this episode is China trying to show herself as a businesswoman. So she meets with her partner, Dynsia, who is West African, I believe. And she's the person that partnered with her on this skin bleaching product. What they both say is that it is not a skin bleaching product, that it is a product for people with hyperpigmentation. So people with super dark elbows, knees, or, maybe some acne spots, things of that nature. China wants to talk about her lawsuits and the various ways to get a lawsuit. So for example, if she posts a photo that a blogger or someone posted, but she didn't pay for it, that's a lawsuit. If she goes to post it after the blogger has posted it, that becomes a lawsuit or something to that effect. She talks about her canceled reality TV show and her lawsuit with the Kardashians. She talks about her saying that she was going to Harvard Business School and the backlash that she received on social media from that. She's also talking about her leaked track because, she wants to be a rapper. Well, the song that we heard, she actually wasn't ready for that to be released. And so how that's kind of possibly tarnished her image within the industry, that people may or may not want to work with her. Now, all Dynsia has to offer to this conversation is talking about Brokeville and zip codes. We're not in her zip code. We're so broke. Look at how much money they have. Keep talking. Thanks for talking about us because we sell out every time. We know who's buying these things. We get the receipts. I've never heard such superficial conversation in my life. That was very tough to watch. China heads to the studio to meet with Molly Mall, who, if you remember, was on Love and Hip Hop Hollywood. I believe he dated Tierra Marie briefly. He might have been on Love and Hip Hop New York as well, but I can't recall. He's a major producer, so she goes there to meet with him. Of course, she's invited Dynsia, Ashton, her publicist, Freshie, so just everyone on her team. She wants to talk to Mal about her image, what her sound should be, the direction that she wants to go in. So everyone arrives, they head down to the studio, and lo and behold, Jeremiah walks in. Jeremiah is someone that they were just talking about because he was on the track with her that got released. And so they hadn't seen each other since things happened, and she felt pretty uncomfortable. So she was able to address that elephant in the room for her, and they were able to move forward and listen to her music. During the studio session, we only get to hear instrumentals, no bars, but everyone seems to be vibing to the production. Everyone seems to really enjoy the tracks, and they encourage her to go down this path. Now, one thing that I do want to mention is that before she and Molly Mall head down to the studio, they're talking about China, her career, and where she's headed. And he says that she was a trendsetter, that she actually kind of started this girl boss thing, which I'm very perplexed about, because not that she's not an inspiration to someone, because I'm sure that she is, but to say that she's a trendsetter or the definition of a girl boss when we have people that have actual talent, it's just really hard for me to get behind. But that literally wraps up the show. So let's move on. Now let's talk Real Housewives of Potomac. We are fresh off of the heels of this unseen footage and audio that Bravo pieced together to show to us at the end of the last episode. We are also fresh off the heels of finding out that the charges against Michael Darby have been dismissed. Giselle is driving in her car and she wants to invite Ashley to come over to see her new house, this fixer-upper that she's recently purchased. It's kind of her way of extending the olive branch as well as apologizing to Ashley for her behavior. And rightfully so, Ashley is very leery. I'll give Ashley this. She actually showed up. I probably would not have. Candace and Chris are going home shopping because if you recall, Candace is just super over being in her mom's house, or even though her mom only pays half of the mortgage, she's tired of her mom having so much control over them and having all this say-so in what they decide to do. So they are going home shopping, and of course they live in the DC area. DC, Potomac, from my understanding, is extremely expensive, but they're out here looking at mansions. So they're house shopping, and the house is $2.5 million. And Chris, I'll put it like this. He does a really good job of keeping a straight face, but you can tell he just doesn't want to go this big his first time. Candace is like, well, this is a little out of the budget, and I know it's like slightly unrealistic, but I just want you to see kind of like, this is what I want, things like that. And Chris goes, well, I don't think we should just jump out there and get a mortgage this big. And so she starts naming all these businesses that she has. She has her hairline and of course this show and all these other things. But what I realized is a lot of the business ventures that she's mentioned, her mom is the primary investor, the person that has backed her the most for these. I mean, the irony. Giselle, Robyn, and Ashley meet over at Giselle's new home so that she can kind of give them a walkthrough and talk through renovation plans. And it's a cute moment. Ashley and Giselle are able to kind of go ahead and hash things out about Giselle's shady behavior, to which Giselle acknowledges and apologizes. But it wouldn't be girl time if there wasn't any tea time. So they talk about Katie, and they say that Katie's fake. They say that, although Monique says that she wants to take this laid back approach, that she's thrown Candace under the bus, and kind of they're calling Monique fake as well. And they share this information about Monique sharing the text messages with Ashley. During this tea time, Giselle makes it very clear that she is not open to making amends with Monique. Monique just rubs her the wrong way, and she's over it. Karen and Ray have the kids over for seafood night, which used to be a tradition in their home, but now that they're empty nesters, whenever they can get their kids together, they do. Can we just talk about how much Karen's son looked just like her? It is crazy. They talk about the La Dame fragrance, and she says that it's essentially a unisex fragrance, but they also even talk about names for a men's fragrance. Very cute. I like that Karen is kind of taking a step back from being in the drama and being with the ladies, but focused on her family and her husband and showing a different side of her. I'm really enjoying seeing that this season. If we're being honest, the real focus of this episode is about Ashley and her going to find her dad. We know that her dad lives here in Atlanta, but she has not seen him, I don't think ever, but she's only spoken to him maybe once as a child. So she's beginning down this path of trying to figure out who she is and where she comes from as she's preparing to be a mother herself. She and Michael go out for dinner and they talk about the ladies, and Michael really echoes her sentiments about the ladies not being supportive. He just doesn't think that they're good friends, and he said that several times this season already. She talks to him about going to see her father. She's basically saying that she is going to do it and that her mom's going to go with her. Michael thinks that her mother going with her is a terrible idea. It's like the next day or possibly even a couple of days later, but Ashley's on the phone with her Aunt Sheila. She and her Aunt Sheila have not spoken since 2011, but this is her aunt on her dad's side. Her aunt welcomes her with open arms, even says that she'll go with Ashley when she goes to see her dad. She encourages her to come here and let's just try to figure out what's going on. It's a very cute and sweet conversation. I don't really know if I would have encouraged her to just ambush her dad, but I understand. But Sheila even shares some information about the last time that she's spoken to her brother. So clearly he's going through something. He's not just disconnected from Ashley. He's disconnected from his family as a whole. Over at Monique's house, she's being a jokester. She's 34 weeks pregnant and talking about how her pelvis is hurting, how she's struggling to walk up the stairs, refusing to take the elevator despite Chris's incessant saying, babe, just take the elevator. And she wants to play a joke on him. So she pretends as though her water has broken. And this man ends up calling 911 like he is so serious. But she says that she kind of did that to show that they don't have a plan. And so they need to pack their bag for the hospital. They need to talk about who's going to take care of the kids while they're at the hospital. Just kind of sparks a thought process for them, I guess. So Katie has invited the ladies to a gala. Nobody knows what this gala is about. It's something that Katie's mom was associated with, but wanted support or just people to show up. And so Katie comes through with, I think, Robyn and Giselle and Candace and her mother. They talk to Candace and her mother and they talk about therapy. And one thing is clear to Giselle as it is to us. It did not work, okay? Candace's mom is still throwing jabs. They're still going back and forth. They're really reaching no resolve here. They also talk about Michael's dismissal of the recent allegations. They also talk about this conversation that Jacob had with Michael, where Michael wants Jacob's number, but he sees that Jacob has two phones. He has a business phone and a private line, as in a personal phone. And Michael wants to know which one would he answer first. And Jacob goes, well, I always answer my business phone. And he goes, well, I need your business number because you need to always answer when I call. So they kind of talk about that, and it's just another thing to add to the list of things that make Michael look bad. They also discuss what Ashley should do in the event that she and Michael don't work. They don't want her to leave this marriage with nothing. They're concerned because she recently sold Oz, and that was her baby. But I also think that they agreed that, okay, it was profitable. She proved that she could do it, and she was ready to enter into motherhood. I think that was just kind of a stipulation for her to get what she wanted out of Michael. Of course, Giselle has to be messy and mention the Ashley and Monique conversation where Monique has shared the text messages between herself and Candace. Candace immediately feels betrayed, and I can immediately tell that this is going to become a major thing this season. Candace says that she's going to confront Monique about these actions, and then Giselle shares that she feels upset that Monique feels like Giselle doesn't care about her problems. Say that 5 times fast. But what it is that I still think that Giselle's a little green with envy with Monique. People keep saying that the second that Monique hit the show, she wanted everybody to know that she was rich, but it was like, no, Giselle came for Monique. If you recall, Giselle told Monique, oh, you don't have a home? And so Monique went, oh no, I have 3. Giselle started that. She just didn't like the response that she got. And I think ever since then, Giselle has had it out for Monique. So why would Monique feel like you care about her problems? Because I'm pretty sure you feel like her problems are trivial. She's gotten the man, she's gotten the money, she has the kids, the house, she has it all. And you once had it, and now you're having to be an independent boss, which is nothing wrong with that. But you're jealous. Ashley and her mom head to Atlanta to ambush her dad. But before they do this ambush, they're going to meet with Aunt Sheila and Uncle Jim. They're going to talk about kind of the plan, the last time that they've seen each other, and actually what's been going on. Uncle Jim says that it's probably been in Ashley's best interest that her dad wasn't in her life, which to me makes me think like drug addiction or gambling, sex addiction. Dad has some deep-rooted issues, which is why they probably got divorced when Ashley was about 4 months old. Jim is just like, I wouldn't do it. I actually think this is just unnecessary. Leave the man alone. But Aunt Sheila agrees to be the person to go to the door to actually get Ashley's dad to open the door, and then they're going to ambush him. And of course, you know, Bravo isn't going to give us all of this in one episode. So we're at the end of the episode where Ashley's pulling into the driveway. She's talking about, oh my gosh, I don't know if I think I can do this. But her mom manages to get her out of the car, and we kind of see Sheila walking up to the door. That's really where the episode ends. The preview kind of shows that stuff goes awry. The dad opens the door and she's like, hi dad, I'm Ashley, or something to that effect. And he's like, what the hell is this? Let's go ahead and get Basketball Wives out of the way. I would even venture to say that this episode was a little uneventful. It did have some pretty funny moments, especially the moment with Tammy and Malaysia. But drama-wise, I'm actually tired of seeing this Kristen, OG, Phoebe, Cece thing. I want fresh drama. This is old. Damn, y'all. How long are we going to beat this horse? So the ladies are back from San Diego, and it is business as usual. Shawnee is working on her 7 streams of income because that's what multimillionaires have, right? She's bought an apartment or something in Inglewood that she's looking to flip, hold on to, and sell to the highest bidder. It's crazy because they've built a stadium out in Inglewood, and Shawnee positions it as she's going to be helping her community. But are you really? Because really, you are contributing to the gentrification issue in the area. If you know that the people in Inglewood are not going to be able to afford their homes due to property values increasing due to this stadium, for you to buy something for super cheap, flip it, renovate it, and then sell it to the highest bidder, you're actually a vulture like everybody else. But I'm not a hater, girl. I feel it. Get your coin. Tammy and her daughter Jazz go to see Jazz's mentor Yo-Yo, who was a rapper back in the day. Apparently super great. She's legendary. I've never heard of her, but it could really be kind of like a northern thing. I'm not sure. We saw these pictures of Tammy about a year ago as Tatiana Trill. Now, I'll be real. I thought it was her daughter Jazz because they really do have an uncanny resemblance. Also, I didn't think that Tammy would be out here dressing like that and doing that at her age. However, she feels as though she kind of missed her boat because her group broke up back in the day when they were signed. She wants to tackle everything that's on her bucket list. This is a dream unfulfilled, and so she's gonna go for it. Yo-Yo asks her to rap. She's not quite ready, but she's able to come up with a little something off the cuff, and they're trying to loosen her up on the dancing and stage presence part. She's not quite ready, but that's where Malaysia comes in. Evelyn, Jen, and Kristen meet up so that, of course, they can talk Cece and OG. Kristen has her own set of receipts that she's ready to bring to the table, where Cece called OG ugly AF via text message. Evelyn and Jen want to see the receipts, which, I mean, Jen is really kind of playing devil's advocate because she always comes back to OG with the drama, but then OG always has to deal with the drama or confront the people on her own. I feel like that could backfire in Jen's face really soon. By the way, the text message that we're referring to is about a year old. So it's probably way before Cece even knew OG as a person. And no, you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I'm pretty sure there are quite a few people out here that find other major celebrities unattractive. Phoebe is rehearsing for her first showcase out in LA. Unfortunately, Evelyn won't be able to make it because she's going to be in the Bahamas or somewhere. But this invite was given to the ladies at Tammy's attempted reconciliation brunch. So this event, this showcase, will be the stage for the Tammy versus Jen and the OG versus Phoebe, as well as OG versus Cece drama. That's the only reason why this scene is important. Jackie, Tammy, and OG all meet up over Jackie's house to talk about the trip in San Diego because, as we know, Tammy was not in attendance. As she said, thank God she missed it. The key points are Evelyn and Jen kissing and making up, which Tammy isn't enthused about it, but she also isn't surprised. OG and Phoebe, this drama around a bitch wearing fake clothes. And so what Jackie says is, I think that you should still come. Phoebe was asked about it prior. Do you think that OG would come? And Phoebe's like, well, we got beef. We don't get along, so I don't know why she would come to my event. But here we are. Jackie has convinced OG to come, so we know she'll be there. Shawnee and Sharif go to some type of like high-end fitness place where you're able to really get an analysis of your physical fitness. And she's doing this because, if you recall, at the beginning of the season, Sharif had open heart surgery. So he's ready to get back to sports. I believe he plays basketball. And she wants to make sure that he is at his best. Rightfully so. She's a mother. You don't just want to throw your kid out there. Although he was cleared to do physical activity, I understand taking the extra mile. He passes with flying colors, and so that leads to a dinner later on to celebrate. We're not there yet. A small but cute scene is where Tammy meets with Malaysia at a dance studio so that Malaysia can teach Tammy how to be sexy. Tammy says that Malaysia has a lot of experience because she's done a few music videos, and I'll tell you something, Malaysia jumps right into character. We may not know exactly what her talents are, but looking at herself, imagining, and being sexy is one of them. So that's a really funny scene. But now it's time for what would be considered the root of all of the drama. It's time for Phoebe's showcase. So she has a private VIP section for the ladies to come and congregate at so that they're able to sit down. They don't necessarily have to stand with everyone else. I would say they're kind of like backstage, but not really. What else I found to be funny was that Phoebe called it her showcase, but there were other acts, people opening, a DJ. I really feel as though it was an open mic, but that's no shade. Before things can even really get off the ground, before Phoebe can hit the stage, okay, Jen walks in, Tammy walks in. Tammy has nothing to say to Jen. The most conversation that was said was after Tammy got up to go do something. She came back and Jen plus one had sat in Tammy's seat. Tammy said, oh no, darling, I was here first. You ladies gotta move. So they got up and moved, and that was that. Cece shows up, OG shows up. OG and Phoebe go ahead and hash it out right then. Phoebe's like, we don't even get along, so I don't understand why you're here. So they're kind of hashing that out, and then somehow Cece's name comes up as far as being a friend. And Phoebe goes, well, we're not going to talk about her because she's not really your friend. And OG's like, well, what does that mean? So Jen hops in and kind of comes around and is like, well, I saw the receipts from Kristen that, you know, Cece called you ugly or said some disparaging comments about you or whatever. So OG is like, well, I'm ready to address it right now. And she calls Cece on the carpet. She calls Kristen on the carpet. She's shown the text messages. And what Cece says is, one, I don't remember that, but it's definitely from like over a year ago. So I don't expect you to remember every text message you've ever sent. I also don't have text messages in my phone from a year ago. I barely have text messages in my phone from a month ago. So this is just like a lot of effort on Kristen's part. But Cece is kind of trying to explain it away and apologize. And as we've seen on social media while the show has been airing, OG has still been coming over to Byron and Cece's house. They've still been hanging out. So their friendship probably was never even really impacted by this drama. So the footage shows that Cece leaves and that Kristen and OG are able to hash things out. Kristen goes, well, the only reason why I did that was because I wanted Cece to be exposed for the liar, the manipulator that she is, and we're cool. So they agree to kind of let bygones be bygones. But if you've been on social media, you'll see where Kristen, Cece, and like OG and Jackie are all in the same vicinity. Cece's there taking pictures. So what OG and Cece are saying is that that was editing that Cece actually never left. This episode closes with Shaunie and Shaq taking Sharrieff and the family out to dinner to celebrate Sharrieff being cleared and his return to basketball. The only thing that's really worth mentioning here is that Shaq, unapologetically and just being very forward, he flirts with Shaunie. Shaunie makes it clear that there's nothing there and that there's always something that he does. Shaunie makes it clear that there's nothing there and that that's something that he always does. What I want to comment on is Shaq's big ass rolling up on the scooter. Okay? Huge. Just a no for me, dog. Keep it. But he brings all of the ladies, his daughters, and Shaunie flowers. And they appear to really be in a really good space. She said that, early in their divorce, it was hard. They weren't really good parents. They weren't really able to co-parent. But now they are in such a good space. And it's really good to see that. And now let's go ahead and talk Love and Hip Hop Hollywood. Prior to this season, we were told that Ray J and Princess Love were not going to be on the show. As we know, since the show was aired, that's a lie. They've actually been on the show. Also, we were told that A1 and Lyrica aren't together, which is kind of a storyline that they're exploring this season. But I personally feel like A1 is trolling us with this Elton John wig. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there you go. A1 recently commented under one of Lyrica's photos with hearts, basically saying like, that's my babe. So I feel like they're on the mend. I won't even touch on this Apryl Jones and Lil Fizz stuff because I really just want to see it play out. To say that I'm sold on it, I would be lying. We open with the montage of the Lil Fizz and Apryl Jones rumors about them being together, being pregnant, Moniece and her drama, the back and forth, her saying that she's done protecting Fizz, that he was able to talk trash about her, but she's been nothing but a great baby mom to him and has not, tried to tarnish his image. We open with a montage of all of that drama, and then it says 4 months earlier. So now we're talking about the Millennium Tour that had B2K, Pretty Ricky, Yin Yang Twins, I think Jeremiah, a few other people, but those first three that I mentioned were definitely the headliners. J-Boog, who was my personal boo back in the day when I was following B2K, Lil Fizz, and Spectacular from Pretty Ricky meet up in the gym. They're working out and they're talking about the tour. So Fizz and Raz B are sharing a tour bus and they're talking about just kind of how erratic Raz B can be, how separated it is. And J-Boog is talking about how basically since Omarion had his solo release, none of them have really been in contact with him. So it really puts off the idea that Fizz is betraying a friend, because are they really friends? One thing that's clear though is that J-Boog and Lil Fizz are close. And although Fizz even talks about his attempt to show people who he was outside of B2K, his attempt to drop this Lil Fizz and possibly even become Drew, I'm assuming, just did not work out for him. But there's money on the table as B2K because they are definitely stronger together than they have ever been individually. And so you got to get out here and get your money. Fizz also mentions that he and Omarion haven't even discussed the Apryl Jones thing. We also see footage of Apryl and Moniece arguing on social media. And it really just makes me think like, how was the tour? How was this impacted? But if Omarion's really over it, then it probably is what it is, right? So we cut to Apryl Jones to get her side of the story. And the feeling that I'm getting from this is that Omarion is not going to be on this season. But she's talking with Booby about how Omarion left, says that he just up and left her after having the baby. No explanation. She still doesn't know why. And that it's just constant court battles. It's one thing after another. My thought was, okay, if she's filming with Booby, who clearly wants to still be on the franchise, is she the new Brooke? Because Brooke is not on the franchise this season, okay? She got her man and her baby, and she's moved on. We cut to Princess Love and Ray J, and it shows Princess Love and the precious baby in the bed, but Ray J is on the couch. Ray J says that he's kind of been on daddy daycare duty, which is fine, but Princess is missing the intimacy in their relationship. She loves that they have a baby. She loves being married. She's happy that they're beyond all the drama that was in their past. But, she's ready to start working on baby number 2, and the only way to work on baby number 2 is to get busy. Ray J has a play date with A1 because A1 and Lyrica have had their baby Ocean, and this is where A1 is kind of introduced to us this season. This is his opportunity to air his grievances. So while he's trolling us with his Elton John hair, in this particular scene, he still has his locks. He's telling Ray J that Lyrica just kind of up and left. She's not communicating with him. He's basically a single dad. We cut to K. Michelle, whom I had forgotten about was on last season and who I wished hadn't come back this season. And she's still working on this final R&B album that she's been talking about because she's ready to go country. But here she's house hunting because she's ready to have her twin girls. Okay, storylines. We cut to Apryl handling her business, and it appears that Apryl now has a podcast with Jason Lee, who is a well-known blogger and gossiper. Now, behind the scenes, Fizz and Apryl are talking about their relationship, the issues that they're having with Moniece, and at this particular time, they are both saying that they are not together. But if they decide to be together, or if they cross that line, Jason Lee will be the first to know. But in the confessional, Apryl's calling herself a special friend. So either they filmed this like forever ago before they actually crossed the lines, or they're both lying. And I get the vibe that they're lying. Fizz is popping up on her, visiting her at work. These are all like relationship things. A new cast member here this season is Brittany B. Apparently she's a well-known producer and writer in the LA area, has a astronomical amount of accolades, just, okay, a boss bitch. We get it. Her introduction into this season is her talking about developing artists, tours, things like that. And in walks Blac Chyna, who is a close friend of hers. Chyna is ready to be taken seriously as a rapper, and so they have to talk about her image and what the next steps are. She and Chyna are friends in real life, they tell us. So Brittany warns her that work Brittany and friend Brittany are two completely different people, and you may not like the work Brittany, so you got some decisions to make. This single dad, A1, is having to spread his time between his son and the studio, touring, and who knows what. What we find out is that Jason Lee has been given some information that he's ready to post to the blogs. After all, gossip is his business. But because he and A1 are friends, or they have some type of personal relationship, he wants to give A1 a heads up. So they meet up, and Jason plays the video footage. A1 is FaceTiming with Summer Bunny, and she's like, you acting like you don't care about me, like you don't love me, da-da-da-da-da. Why you acting funny? And he's like, I'm in the studio, ha ha ha. So it's clear that there was kind of more of a professional relationship, although that's how A1 is trying to spin it. Text messages were sent. So Jason Lee shows him the text messages. They do a quick scroll. A1 just asks for a little bit of time. Well, first, what he tells him is that you're not going to release them. And it's like we're getting hints of that A1 that jumped across the table to go for Safari last season. But A1 knows to calm down. And Jason is like, well, this is my business. Like, I know I'm giving you this courtesy as a friend, but if I have to tell the business, I will. I'll just go ahead and clear that up. Jason Lee gives him maybe a day and a half because we don't really get a real timeline, but the drama or the business hits the internet before A1 is actually able to clear things up with Lyrica. And so you can imagine things did not go well. A smaller scene includes K. Michelle talking about her being ready to have babies via surrogate, and she flies her surrogate out. Her surrogate has twin girls. They're beautiful. K. Michelle's storyline is clearly going to be this country album or this last R&B album again, and this surrogacy. The only question that I have is that we're talking about having babies, but you haven't even mentioned your doctor boyfriend, marriage, none of those other things that you were so gung-ho about in the past. So where is he? Lyrica lands, and Big Lyrica, I guess, or Mama Lyrica, I don't know, is here to meet her with Ocean. And they immediately kind of talk DMs and things that made Lyrica flee and I guess really ramp up her music career, her solo stuff. Because A1 has just been out here living his best life, I guess not acting as though he's married, and Lyrica was just not willing to deal with it. She tells her mom, my DMs have been blowing up with proof of him flying girls out, paying for titties, like just taking care of these hoes. I'm not going to tolerate it. Lyrica's mom agrees to keep Ocean so that when Lyrica goes home, she and A1 can have an adult conversation and not upset the baby and have no distractions. Lyrica goes home, but nothing really comes of it. She and A1 are not really even having any real conversation. She's talking about how A1's out here eating crab legs, and I think it's just about you being able to expand your business and enhance your business when I've turned business down off of the strength of not wanting to cheat on you or disrespect you, and here you are out here disrespecting me. He tells her to go and get some business, so that's exactly what she does. What A1 doesn't understand is that he's really ruined his opportunity to share the Jason Lee information. So before he can even share it with Lyrica, it's already hit the net. The next thing we know is that Lyrica is at her mom's house with baby Ocean because she's over A1. A1 has this presentation that he's been sitting at home waiting on Lyrica to come home, but now he has to go on tour because he has this track with T-Pain and it's gaining momentum. God forbid the career gets sidetracked. So it's like he leaves and then maybe an hour or maybe the next day, we don't know, Lyrica comes home and she wants to know where he is. And he's like, well, I'm on tour. And she's like, well, no, we need to talk. And he's like, well, we can talk about it when we get home. And she's like, no, we can talk about it right now. And she kind of starts going off about why were you even FaceTiming with other women? Especially because the topic is so vague and it does come off as him having ulterior motives, as if he had a relationship of some kind, even if only sexually, with this Summer Bunny chick. Princess Love has planned a surprise for Ray J because she's ready to spice up their sex life. He goes to a sex dungeon. He is gagged, spanked, all these other things. We get to see his dad bod. That's where this whole meme about Ray J having a fat pussy is coming from. If you haven't seen it, you've got to check Instagram, Facebook. It's all over the internet. It's hilarious. But that's where this comes from. And although nothing really comes from that because he's uncomfortable, neither one of them are really turned on, but it's kind of her way of letting him know, like, yes, I'm a mother, but I'm ready to be seen in a more sexual way, which I've heard happens for couples when they have their first baby, that it's like the Mother Teresa syndrome. So I really do hope that they're able to get that under wraps. Princess also does this dominatrix thing as a quote unquote warning for Ray J if he ever does anything like what A1 has done to Lyrica. This episode closes with a sit down between Moniece and Apryl. And of course, VH1 is going to have that extend over into the next episode. But Moniece is very clear about no one can tell her about her baby daddy because she knows him in a different light than what Apryl does. And Apryl feels like she's this shade queen and she's ready for Moniece. But I completely disagree. And that wraps it up for this week's recap. Once again, thank you so much for watching. And you already know what to do. If you like this episode, make sure to hit like. And while you're at it, make sure to subscribe. And I know that you don't want to miss any of the tea. So why aren't you following me on social media? Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter so that you're always a part of the conversation. And I can't wait to see you next week. Bye. This video has been Queenie B approved. Thanks for watching. But don't stop there. Let's head on over to Instagram and Twitter and keep the conversation going. I'll meet you there. Bye-bye.